Hi, and welcome to this edition of Coffee with the Cop. We're so happy that you have not found it robbery to join us again as we look and have conversation with those who are in law enforcement, those who have the responsibility of policing our community and doing it with a social ethic and grace. It is my distinct pleasure to bring to you today Commander Bianca Joseph of the Overtown Net Office. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So I must applaud you. Most certainly, we are going to celebrate the melon of your skin.
Yes, ma'am.
And being a Black woman in a role of power, and most certainly breaking barriers and being a female in a non-traditional role.
Yes, female power.
So before we go into talking about it, most certainly those who have been watching us over the last year, this is our 1-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Being in this set. And so guys who are out there watching, you see it's a little decorative today. We got balloons everywhere because we're celebrating the fact that in a COVID context, we had to become creative. We wanted to continue to get information and have conversation around this very important matter, because many of you know we started this conversation in the wake of George Floyd. We thought, let's not have conversations outside of this or talk among ourselves. Let's go directly to those who are in charge, who are functioning and making decisions as it related to policing our community. And so with that being said, I don't want to focus just on that just yet, Commander Joseph. Tell us, for those who don't know, who's Bianca Joseph?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me, by the way. So Bianca Joseph is a 38-year-old female. I have a 3-year-old daughter named Janelle. I've been working with the city of Miami for 16 years now. I started off with the trajectory of being in the medical field. Law enforcement was not on my bucket list at all. But throughout my contacts throughout the year, as well as my brother, the influences came into my life to join law enforcement. And I don't regret it, because sometimes what we have planned is not what God has planned for us.
That's right.
And so it's been a blessing ever since. I started as an officer, worked my way up to a detective, then sergeant, lieutenant, and now I'm a commander.
And so you've had an opportunity to really see law enforcement at so many stages.
Absolutely. I can tell you, when I first started in 2005, the Wynwood that is Wynwood today is not the Wynwood.
It was Overtown.
It was Overtown.
And I am going to not allow you to say it, but I'm going to say it. I think people need to allow the historical value. We appreciate the new wind, the new wave, and understanding really that Midtown and even Wynwood was a part of, now God rest his soul in peace, Commissioner Art Teal. It was his vision to bring social and economic empowerment to Overtown.
Yes.
Overtown.
Yeah.
And of course, gentrification is real as we serve Liberty City, and that train is moving so quickly.
Very fast.
Yes, and so to your point, you were policing Overtown, which is now Wynwood.
So it was still Wynwood, but it was a mixture of Overtown. Wynwood consisted more of Puerto Ricans.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, pull me back in.
Yeah. But it was mainly warehouses.
Yes.
And then you had more residential areas the further south
you had
you
the
went.
little fashion little areas. Yes, ma'am.
But where
that's right. Put me in. Check me. That's right.
But where Midtown is, I remember that was just land and warehouses.
Yes.
And just watching the growth of Wynwood, watching the growth of Overtown, watching the growth of Little Haiti, Liberty City, Coconut Grove, Brickell. It's just, it's amazing. I am happy to see the advancement within the city of Miami, but I also know how it started off, you know? So, but I see that we're still.
So you started policing that area.
I did. I worked Overtown, all the areas I mentioned, and Alapata and Little Havana. So I've worked in almost every sector or district within the City of Miami Police Department.
Yeah. Now, is your ethnicity is what?
So my parents were born in Haiti, so I am Haitian.
You
Both
are
of my
Haitian.
parents are born in Haiti, yes.
And so your ability to merge even that Wynwood, City of Miami area where you have components, strong components of Little Haiti, what would you say some of those things, what was the benefit of having a diverse or your value added to the City of Miami Police Department?
Well, it's always an added bonus when you speak a second language. And so working in Little Haiti or working in Wynwood or working in a district where there aren't that many Creole speaking officers, it's beneficial because then if they need a translator, I can help. Or if an officer responds to a scene and they see a whole bunch of people and they're talking loud, don't think that they're having an argument or a dispute.
Cultural
That's just
sensitivity.
Exactly. That's our culture. So my added bonus was I can say, no, they're not arguing. They're just passionate or excited about a conversation. The same way if we have, when I worked in Little Havana, my Spanish is not that fluent. I speak un poquito, but not fluently. I would need a Spanish translator, you know? So that's always an added bonus when you speak a second language.
But I also could imagine the look, because we're drawn to children, our work is for children. When little girls and little Haitian boys would see you show up on the scene, the sense of pride and even relief. Can you share something or stories that you've had, or you feel that you've had impressions in that regard?
Absolutely. It's so many stories, but the most recent one I would say has been about a year and a half. So I've never really seen Haitians in Overtown. Haitians that I've encountered have mostly lived in Little Haiti, some in Model City, but I encountered my first Haitian family in Overtown. And I met the grandmother and a little boy, and the grandmother told me that his mother was killed by his father and the father committed suicide. And he was like, you're a female officer? And I told him, I'm not just a female officer, I'm the commander of Overtown. He didn't even know what commander was. So I explained it to him and he said, wow, he hadn't been attending school. And so I made sure that he went back to school. I assigned a mentor to him. He needed a computer. We made sure whatever he needed, we made sure that he received it, especially because he doesn't have parents, you know? But that made me feel good to show him that I am of Haitian descent and that I did have the means to assist him and his grandparents. So.
Amazing, amazing. And so let's get back to his question, or even the pause he had in what is a commander. I think that's a great segue. What does it mean to be the commander of the Overtown Net Office?
Right, so the commander is a person who's responsible for the overall community or neighborhood. So every day it's my responsibility to ensure the quality of life of my residents is up to par. What does that mean? So I drive through the neighborhood. If I see debris, if I see trash, if I see a code violation, if I see a company or a filming that's done without a permit, that all of that falls under my purview, not to mention the officers that work the different shifts, the supervisors, our civilians, our public service aides. So it encompasses a lot of things. So my former chief used to say, you are the chief of your neighborhood. And that's the best way to put it.
And that's quite empowering as well. It gives you leveraging power. It gives you a sense of ownership and pride.
Yes.
But just for curiosity, as I kind of talked about Wynwood and a little bit ago, what would be the defining or boundary lines of what Overtown is considered now?
Right. Okay. So Overtown starts about 6th Street, Northwest 6th Street, and I would say up to 4th Avenue.
Okay.
And we go west to 7th Avenue, all the way into an area called Spring Garden Road. And then we go north to about 21st Street.
Okay.
And right after 21st Street, it becomes Wynwood.
Right. So 20th Street is really kind of like the line of divide, right?
Correct, yes.
Or kind of your barrier. All right.
Well, 21st Street.
21st Street.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And so now let's talk about the parallels of Overtown to Liberty City.
Okay.
because, again, Miami Children's Initiative committed to serving those children and families in Liberty City. But often, because of the schools of choice, there are children who live in Overtown and attend school in or attend school in our service area, and vice versa. So, what would you say are some of the parallels between Liberty City and Overtown?
The parallels are, to me, it's kind of obvious, right? It's mainly African Americans. There are some diversities in culture, but it's just a zip code, right? Everyone is pretty much the same. We're actually all the same if you really look at it. And that's what I like about South Florida in general, but mainly South Florida, Miami, because we're very similar in culture. We understand each other. We have the same issues. And so I think those are the parallels between Overtown and Liberty City. You know, it's one of our lower income communities. The struggles are similar. But ultimately, at the end, we're still human beings. You know?
And so would you say that that is kind of the thrust of your leadership style in being the commander, looking at people for who they are?
Absolutely.
And not based on necessarily ethnicity or demographics as you.
Absolutely.
So share with us some of the initiatives and things that are happening there at the Net Office. And then we'll get to this George Floyd matter. What's the intentionality of ensuring that your officers get home safe, but that people also survive their moment with police officers?
Okay. So my intentions when I first became the Overtown commander, and it continues to this day, is just ensuring that everyone in Overtown is treated equally and fairly, right? I also want to bridge the relationship between law enforcement and the community.
And how are you doing that?
So when I first started, we had events, but then the pandemic hit.
COVID affected a lot
It
of outreach
did.
moments and relationship moments.
It did. So I still had Zoom meetings with my HOAs so that I can keep in contact with my residents. But now, so like
You said HOAs. I'm shaking my head, but you got to tell us what that acronym means.
HOA is Homeowners Association.
Okay.
Yes. So October 29th, we're going to have a trunk or treat, a Halloween event at Williams Park. That's to get the community and the kids back out. The police will have their trunks open with goodies and decorations for the kids. Thanksgiving, we're going to do a turkey giveaway. So that's some of the community outreach that we do. We want them to see this is
And that's
what we're
directly
doing.
out of your office.
Yes.
That's not a larger pit, but it's what Commander Joseph, we want to make sure our children have a safe place to go.
Yes.
And then make sure that they're also fed.
Exactly.
Because it's about the holistic person.
It is. And so I do have partners though. So I'll reach out to our Commissioner Watson. We partner with the Net Office, but these are ideas that I pitch to them and they're always on board to assist. But we do outreach events to get the community involved. You asked us another question.
So George Floyd,
Yes.
getting to the George Floyd, which brought us to the space of how we started this Coffee with a Cop series.
Okay.
What was your thoughts regarding the matter with the officer and George Floyd? What was your?
That was heartbreaking to watch. Because what I tell my officers as well as the community is that at the end of the day, when I take this off and if I go to Publix or Walmart, no one knows that I'm a police officer. They see a human being. So to see that happen to George Floyd, he is a human being. No one should be treated that way. So that was very disheartening. It wasn't a humanistic approach at all.
So what were your initial thoughts were, and then were you the commander at the time that George Floyd happened?
I was. I actually was the commander for 1 month, the commander for Overtown. And there's something called staff duty. So staff duty for a week, you're on call 24/7. And when that happened and the protest happened, I was staff duty.
And you were in the thick of where it was happening.
Exactly. So the chief assigned me to it's called PCC, which is the Police Command Center. So I was there along with the major and the other chiefs, and we were calling the shots because there was a lot of protests going on in the city of Miami.
Especially there on the edge, because Overtown is on the edge of downtown.
Yes.
We saw a lot of things happening at Bayfront Park.
Exactly.
There was a lot of things happening. What an interesting time for you.
It was very interesting because I've never handled any protest, let alone do it as a commander. And to be in a room with my mentor, which is Chief Colina, as well as other chiefs and majors, and we're calling the shots. I'm working with FHP because people were on the highway. It was a very, very special moment because I learned a lot, right? I went in there not knowing how to handle it, but I left there feeling confident every day that I went home. Okay, tomorrow is going to be better. Tomorrow I learned this today. I'll know how to apply it tomorrow.
So did you feel confident in the City of Miami Police Department?
Absolutely.
Did you feel that people of color and those who felt some level of injustice had a proper place and that they could be heard?
I absolutely do. And so when I had breaks, I would go to Overtown and drive around and make sure that my community was safe. And I know some of the guys that are there, and they're like, Commander, they're not bringing that to Overtown. Tell them don't bring that to Overtown. We're not happy with what happened, but this is not the way to do it. We don't want that in Overtown.
And so, Bianca, I'm a little bit older than you. As a matter of fact, based on I'm about 10, almost 11 years older than you.
Okay.
And so I was alive when Arthur McDuffie.
Yes.
I was probably about 5 or 6 when that happened.
Okay.
My mom was on the Jungle Queen cruise, and I just wanted my mama to come home. But City of Miami was on fire.
Yes.
And I believe that because of that, and for those of you who don't know, our young watchers who are watching, Arthur McDuffie was really one of the first national young men it was known, aside from Emmett Till and so others, but from Miami, to die at the hands of a police officer. And he was a business professional, was an insurance man, former military man, and he died in the city of Miami at the hands of a police officer. And so our city burned. There were riots, and the National Guard was brought in. I think that and the Lozano trial, which also happened within the city of Miami. So city of Miami has had its fair share. But I will say, Commander Joseph, it is refreshing to know that there is expansion in the sense that they're including diversity and inclusion. When I look upon you as my beautiful melon sister,
Thank you.
sitting and commanding and making things happen, I'm very proud. I just want to, as we wrap up, again, we know about the trunk or treat event that's happening where we've become familiar now with the Thanksgiving opportunity. But if there's someone who's watching in the Overtown area, they have questions, there are things, how do they reach out to you if they have questions, or maybe some people want to come volunteer, things like that? Tell us about opportunities that they can partner from the community level with Commander Joseph.
Absolutely. So I'm available 24/7. You can email me. My email address is 27233@miami-police.org.
Now, is that your badge number? Is that what that is?
No, that's not my badge
I always
number.
wondered. Listen, y'all see me sipping this good coffee. My assistant today hooked us up,
Yes,
honey,
she
with
did.
this coffee,
Yes,
honey.
yes. Again, the email is 27233@miami-police.org. Well, miami-police.org.
Okay.
And they can also reach me in the office, 305-603-6635.
Repeat that one more time, and you'll see that come up on the screen. Share us with us one more time.
305-603-6635.
Commander Joseph, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for not finding it robbery to give yourself to an area of profession that traditionally does not look like female, but not only stepping in that space, but not being afraid to lead in that space. I applaud you, and I thank you so much. This has been our edition of Coffee with the Cop with Commander Bianca Joseph. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Bye. Thank you.